Continuity Patrol works tirelessly to stop the war, doing everything in their power. This leaves them pretty split up and busy right now, but the Continuity Patrol is really strong after all. Even with the dozens of continuities and hundreds of timelines involved in this battle, this shouldn't be too tough of a task for them. The worst part for them is that it's just tedious, there's so much to do. But the fights themselves, it's nothing they can't handle, especially with people like Piccolo, Cooler, and Kakarot too. But amidst all of this, they wonder, where has Cell gone? He's out there somewhere, but they haven't seen him during this whole fight. They're surprised because they expected him to want to join a battle like this. Wherever he is, he must be plotting something new. This is episode 12 of Cell Prime. Cell and Few hop through other continuities, casually traveling through them as Few discusses more about himself and his plan. One of the things he aims to do is collect a bunch of data, not just on fighters, but all of these continuities as is. It's going to really help him with his own power. Not only does this lead him to his end goal, but it's going to help Cell in the process as well. He'll get a bunch of data, so much that he's going to grow far stronger than he currently is. Sure, the method he's using now to collect data, it's working for him and he is growing stronger, but Few thinks he can improve that strength further. Few thinks Cell has way more potential than he realizes. But besides the two of them growing stronger, Few will eventually learn how to control continuities on a whim. And remember, this isn't anything simple. He's not just going to get a bunch of Super Dragon Balls or whatever. He needs true control over everything. Cell is still a little bit unsure about all of this, and not because he doesn't trust Few. Like, he could literally look into the intention of this guy's heart and mind. Few's telling the truth about everything. It's just that Cell doesn't know about all this continuity control stuff. It seems a little bit lofty, doesn't it? Also, Cell's not really sure if it's something that he would want. Really, all he looks for is fun. There's no fun if he could just control everything. Although, on the flip side, Few says that it might be helpful for him. By now, Cell's grown so strong that there's not going to be many people that can contend with him. At least not if Cell's using his full power. He'd either have to purposefully handicap himself, or he'd have to find stronger people if he wants a good fight. Eventually he's going to run out of opponents, if not already. But Few tells me to think of it like this. If they have that same sort of control over the continuities, Cell could just create a new continuity where a strong opponent is born. That is true too. Cell didn't actually realize that. Still, he's not too sure how fulfilling it would be, but again, if he is controlling the continuity as is, he'll have endless amounts of opponents that are on his level, at least if he decides to create them. Cell and Few arrive at a new continuity that seems pretty powerful, although Cell fights here and it's not really a challenge. This time his opponent is somewhat similar to him, someone that was genetically engineered, and apparently is a really powerful warrior. This is a timeline where Baby actually becomes the strongest thing in existence, achieving all of his goals and just growing stronger beyond that. Interesting, but to Cell, he's nothing. Even in his base form, it's not an issue. They go to another continuity, and it's the same story. This time they're in a reality where the dead are in the living world, with one monster in particular being able to escape hell, growing stronger in the process as well. A mindless fiend named Janemba. But Cell also defeats him with ease. Strangely enough, he kinda just saved these two continuities. But also, it's not really too fulfilling for him. Few's just observing how Cell fights close up, so even if these battles aren't of much interest, they're still helping him. They continue to hop through other continuities, and Cell even gets to see how Few fights as well. They're looking for any interesting fighters they could find. And there's a lot of strong fighters, but they're not strong enough to contend with them, and they don't really have too many interesting abilities. That's another reason they're trying to do this. Few wants more data, and he's trying to give that data to Cell as well. New techniques that he can adapt to, things that he could use in his prime form. They do this with thousands of continuities, trying to keep it low profile too, and really just fighting the strongest person in each. With some of these it takes seconds just to observe their powerful abilities and then killing them. For others it takes a few minutes. They can't really go too crazy after all, especially because the Cell Prime Wars are almost over, and once they're done the Continuity Patrol will be able to track Cell pretty quickly. They have picked up on some different abilities that they could use, but Cell wonders if they should just keep a low profile for now and not fight anybody else, because going around all these continuities is kinda risky, not in the sense that they're in danger right now. It's more so the fact that this might alert the patrol. But Few says they don't really have a choice. This way they can gather data quickly, and he's been doing this for a while as well. The thousands that they just hop through here, that's nothing for him. And he actually has an exact count of how many he's went through personally. He tells Cell this is continuity number 137,523,257. Wow, really specific and kind of an insane number too. No wonder this guy's as smart as he is, traveling through that many continuities. Cell realizes that not only does he have a lot of data, but he's also pretty quick with how he works too. This is why Few has so much knowledge on everything, because he's seen everybody in all these different timelines. Strangely enough, not another version of himself yet. Exactly the reason he thinks he's unique. But maybe he's not looking far enough. After all, even with that great a number of continuities he's traveled through, there's still so many more. He's barely scratched the surface. Strangely enough, there's no other Cell Prime either, there's no other copies of the Continuity Patrol, and nothing else like that. Which is really strange because with all the continuities he hopped through, chances are he should have encountered at least one of those by now, but why is there specific versions of them that aren't anywhere else? Theoretically, they all should be out there, clones of themselves basically, but there aren't any versions of them out there. Another one of the exact reasons why Few thinks there's something greater than a continuity controlling them. But they'll find out soon enough. What they need to do now is stop the continuity patrols so they can do whatever they want freely. Few tells Cell that they're in the endgame right now. They're going to face the patrol soon, and that dictates whether or not their plans will continue. Now that they're working together, the patrol will only have one target. Well, two targets, but they're both working together as a duo, and they're both in the same spot at any given time. They won't be split up, so these two are their top priority at the moment. And now, Few thinks they should find other warriors in the patrol. As they travel through these continuities, of course, they found other versions of them, but specifically they should be looking for those people. You know, different Piccolos, different Kakarots, different Coolers, things like that. People similar to those members that they could fight. And even if they're not on the same level of power, still, they might be able to find people that are similar enough to them, and at least fight in similar ways. They gotta learn all of the techniques they can from the Continuity Patrol, just so they know what they're up against and how to counter them. This is basically gonna be like target practice. They're not even gonna really fight them because of how weak they are in comparison. Like, for example, as they hop through all these continuities, they fight different versions of Hit. And Hit's pretty strong in these different continuities, but not strong enough to fight them. They really just sit there dodging all of his attacks, seeing what he's capable of. For each member of the patrol, they do this hundreds of times. Another example, they find different versions of Kakarot. One version of him that was sent to Vegeta's crew as a kid. One version of him that was sent to Namek as a kid. A version of him that was raised by Frieza as a kid. One that's Raditz' twin brother. There's so many different variants of all these people. Piccolo too. One timeline where he's actually the strongest. One where he became a god of destruction. Things like that, and this is good for them, because it lets them test out all the different possibilities of powers these people could have. And more importantly, their fighting styles, because they don't really know what to expect. And even with how differently all these people fight, Few thinks they could average these people out. Sure, there's differences between them, but by averaging them together, they can figure out the consistencies between these fighters, things that are constant no matter what changes they've had in their life. It's not a perfect science, but Few thinks this will be more than enough to work with for him. A few weeks pass. Now that I realize it, it's kind of weird to say that a few days, weeks, or whatever are passing because there's not really time out here, and time is different everywhere, especially because it might be measured differently, but simply put, it's a few weeks in our perception of time, and the standardized version of time that the patrol's using. Tangent aside, by now, Few and Cell have more than enough data to work with. But there's still one thing Few needs to see. He wants to see Cell's full power, in an actual battle too. He warps the two of them to a new continuity that he builds on a whim, doing the same thing that Moro Prime did, trying to conceal this continuity. Here, the two of them could fight unrestricted, not needing to worry about alerting the patrol. Few tells Cell he needs to use every bit of power he's gained, every technique he's learned. He'll evolve his Prime form this way, and not just that, he'll grow stronger as is. And he tells Cell to hold nothing back. Aim to kill Few, actually. And he's gonna aim to do the same. This actually isn't an issue for either of them. As long as they don't kill each other at the same time, one could easily revive the other. And they have multiple ways of doing it too. You know, magic, reversing time a little bit, things like that. A fight to the death is good because it'll let them gauge each other's power. And once more, they know they could trust each other. It's not like if one kills the other, the winner is just not going to revive the other. Because the two could read each other's minds and hearts. They could read each other's intentions. The two want to work together. The two know that they're the best sorts of allies. Especially after the time they spent together so far, and the different things they've granted each other in terms of power and knowledge. The two have a mutual trust. Few powers up into a form he calls Super Few. Pretty simplistic name. But then Cell remembers he also has a form called Super Perfect Cell. He goes into his Prime form, and tries to do what Few said, use every little bit of power he's gained. And now using his full power again after all this time, he can see how much he's grown. He has the adaptability and potential of multiple different species within him, both organic and artificial. On top of that, things like pure progress that could help him grow even further beyond his own genetic potential. So he's grown a lot stronger from this alone. But he showcases the new evolution in his Prime form. On the surface, it looks pretty similar to before. The silver exterior of Ultra Instinct, and the cerulean red eye. Strangely enough, even though he does use the power of the double red eyes, only one of his eyes ever turns red. It's a weird quirk that few notice he has, but a nice distinguishing feature. He still is using that power even if it doesn't look like it. But his fighting styles change completely. He's using the power of Ultra Instinct and Ego at the same time. He's innately using Force Spirit Fission and Magic in his battles, as well as perfect and precise time control, plus things he's observed from other continuities that he's seen. For example, his regeneration is pretty much instant, and takes almost no energy from him. Instead of the physical regeneration he uses, he basically wishes to have parts of him restored, thanks to his own magic. When Few tries to hit him, of course he has Ultra Instinct, but even if he does get hit, Cell just dematerializes, something he learned from fighting different versions of Janemba and Hirudegarn. This was a more recent development, and a pretty handy technique, and he's even created some things on his own. Like for example, with Ultra Ego activated, he has a barrier of destructive energy around him at all times. Now, this is nothing new either, but he consistently does this, at least in the heat of battle. So, unless someone is strong enough to actually break through this will erase anything that contacts him. Same goes for Ki Blast too. It basically acts as a filter for any weak opponents, but it can harm stronger ones as well. Pretty much any person he's ever saw fight, he's been able to copy their abilities. No matter what it is, he's adapted to it, improved himself based upon that. The only thing he lacks technically is true immortality. He finds immortality boring and doesn't want to wish for power. Besides, where's the fun in that? He's basically immortal as is, and it's not like it would do anything against people who could erase others. So he doesn't need immortality. He and Few begin fighting, and he could tell Few's actually pretty powerful. Not to Cell's level, but he could definitely keep up, for a while in fact, because the two of them fight for days on end. The first battle ends days after. They don't even tire each other out, it just ends with Cell killing Few, then reviving him. They fight again, and again, and again. Not only to gauge each other's power and to just have fun with battle, but also because they're learning from this too. They're learning their own weaknesses. At one point, Few even does kill Cell. Not by overpowering him or anything, but through specific strategies and techniques. Which does concern Cell because he thought he was infallible this entire time, and that might be one of his biggest weaknesses. The fights eventually do get shorter and shorter, but over this time period, they have 100 fights with each other. Cell wins 93 of them, and Few wins 7. Plus, they've grown stronger and smarter from each battle, but they're still going to spend time preparing. They don't know when the patrol is going to come after them, but it should be any time now. Because far away, back where the Cell Prime Wars happened, the patrol is able to stop everything and fix the barriers between the different continuities, especially thanks to all the help from the people within those continuities. Again, the issue wasn't the different powers that they were fighting against, it's more so the fact that they were fighting against so many different people at once. And they had a lot to juggle across all these different universes, across all these different timelines, across all these different continuities. It was basically hundreds, maybe even thousands of universal battles going on at one time. Cronoa asked for an official estimate from Piccolo. Thankfully, they prevented a lot of the damage. With all the different universes, timelines, and continuities involved, he estimates that there was upwards of 530,000 fighters. But amongst all those fighters, only about 1,000 were actual big threats, and there still were a lot of casualties, mainly of people that couldn't fight. Hundreds of thousands of planets were destroyed, thousands of galaxies, even a couple of universes were obliterated. And that estimate was lower than they thought, because Cronoa thought they'd actually have more losses. The patrol did a really good job at this. Now sure, they couldn't stop everything, but without them, it would have been utter chaos and it would have spread to other continuities as well. Plus, while this war was going on the entire time, more continuities were collapsing in on it, so the chaos was snowballing amidst all of this. But Piccolo's still a bit angered by it because he feels like if he had his old power, he would have been able to stop this within an instant. There would have been no sort of death here at all. He wonders if he could fully unlock his old power again. And Cronoa tells him that he basically has. Judging from when she first saw him fight Lord Slug, he's around the same strength actually. Well, maybe a little bit more because she hasn't seen him fight at his full power recently. The only difference is he doesn't have the insane ability to basically wish anything in and out of existence before he could overwrite any reality that he was in. And that's really the only difference. In terms of raw strength, he's grown. And that's without the insane power that he had before. Not to mention, he still does have the power of wishes, but just not to the absurd extent that he had before. She tells him to give himself more credit. Hayden Granola mentioned this too. Yeah, they actually did see Piccolo fight back then. They're the two that are actually from his continuity. He's grown significantly. They all have. But then the two Bardocs alert Cronoa about something. They found Cell's location, and it's the same location as Few. Either way, this is a bad thing because this could mean the two of them are fighting, which is going to be hugely destructive, or it means the two of them are working together, which is definitely the worst option. How'd they come in contact with each other and why? Immediately the entire patrol mobilizes, ready to fight. They're going to have to stop this at once. And the entire time, someone else is observing all of this too, more covertly than he was before. This Few guy seems interesting as well, and he's collected a bunch of data just by watching them. He's not physically present. His magic has just grown so much that he could observe them through these continuities and keep track of them no matter how fast they're moving. He healed pretty quickly from his last battle with Cell, and he's grown a lot stronger too. This is the endgame for him as well. He's gonna finish what he started. Moro Prime gets ready to fight again. And this is where we'll leave off for now. What do you think about this part, and what's gonna happen next? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.